Hey guys, how's it going? And today I'm bringing you a match in my Dmitri Donskoi. I probably just butchered that name, but I honestly don't really care. I have a hard time producing most of these Russian ships' names, to be perfectly honest. Uh, and this was kind of an interesting match because I'm getting used to the ship. I haven't had it for a long time. And I was on a losing streak, so I wasn't expecting a lot out of this team. Especially when there was a Fuso in a tier 9 game, or tier 10, there was Yamatos in this game, but somebody had brought a Fuso and it's over there. So I wasn't expecting a whole lot, and just based on my experiences with the ship so far, while I do like the ship, it really cannot take a hit, in my opinion. But I guess that's kind of like all the Russian ships, to be perfectly honest. But as you can see right now, we're kind of heading off to the back of the map, just so we don't get spotted and absolutely nuked by any Yamatos that happen to see us from across the map. And it was really interesting just because my team worked well, or they worked together really well. And partway through, I kind of have a lesson that I have shown before, and it is armor piercing versus high explosive, when you should pick them and when you shouldn't, and the decisions that I make in this match that probably could have earned me more damage. There's the Yamato. I'm turning out just in case he fired at me. All the shells are going towards our battleships, so it's probably not me, but I don't want to take the risk, especially not in this thing. But I'm kind of sitting in the back waiting to see where my team goes. And going back to the armor piercing versus high explosive, I have shown it in an Udaloy replay before, which was a really good example of it, and honestly it really showed me how to play the Russian destroyers, and I prospered from it a lot. And I'm finding the Russian cruisers to be about the same. If something's showing its broadside at basically under 15 kilometers, you will absolutely wreck you will absolutely wreck its shit with armor piercing. Sorry, I'm stumbling over a few words here, but a lot of people see these as long range flamethrowers, high rate of fire, high fire chance, really pretty decent high explosive, and a lot of people just sit back and throw high explosive around. Well, the armor piercing definitely can rack up the damage on these things if you use it right, and definitely changes how you can see and use these ships, especially when you get up to tier 9 and get the bigger guns on them. I believe these are 180 millimeters compared to the 155s. Are they 150? Yeah, they're 155s, I do believe, that are on the tier 6 through 8, I want to say. I'm not entirely sure on that. I'm sure somebody will correct me at some point. But as you can see, I found the enemy Fletcher. Does scare me a little bit. Russian cruisers do not have a lot of torpedo protection. They also do not have very good turn radiuses or rudder shift times to dodge torpedoes. So they're like very small, very thinly armored battleships. I shouldn't say small, they're actually really big for a cruiser. But there's his torpedoes. I'm turning to get into that slot between them. Should be able to edge that out. There we go. And my radar's already down. I popped it kind of inopportune, or at an inopportune moment, and that destroyer is going to get away without much of a scratch on him. I only got one real hit on him, and that Mogami just got freaking slaughtered, which I am perfectly fine with. Drop some 8-kilometer torps into the smoke and boogie out of here, just in case that destroyer decides he wants round 2, which I am not interested in, especially with that Izumo overwatching him. Not fun for my little cruiser here. So right now we are taking D. The enemy has 2 caps, A and C, because I am not going into C alone, and they have a Tirpitz over on B, which is what I want to engage next in order to help my fleet so they can advance. And this Amagi that I'm about to pass here, he is a big help in this game. He really pulls his weight Especially for a tier 8 and a tier 10 match, he really does well. And I'll end up following him around for a bit. You'll see me do this a lot if you ever catch me in game, or even in these replays. You'll see me do it a lot in these Russian cruisers. Is I'll stick around a battleship and I'll just sit right behind them. Basically be really large long range secondaries. And as you can see, I'm throwing some high explosive in there because I know he just uses damage control. And I have a perfect shot at his superstructure. But what I should have done as soon as I got a fire on him is loaded the armor piercing and emptied it into him, because I probably would have gotten more damage off. But on the other hand, that destroyer got a torpedo into him and my high explosive was enough to kill him. So would I have done more damage? Probably not. But it's the thought that counts. I should have loaded armor piercing and I should have fed it right into that Tirpitz's broadside for some really nice rolls of damage. But we'll take what we get. We got a kill out of it and we got some damage out of it. Enemy team has pushed around A and my team's kind of clumped up here. So I am trying to push into C, and it looks like I have a few people following me and the Amagi is leading the way. So we will move up with him and support his push as all the rest of my team comes around D. And there's some torpedoes from the Fletcher. Amagi eats only one of them, which is good, but it means he probably won't have damage control. Which means any other torps from that Fletcher will probably cause flooding, and at that health will probably sink him if he doesn't have premium damage control. And there's the Izumo, camping like all good Izumos do. Or good in quotation marks. He can have some fires for sitting there. I'm sure he put those out, but it's the thought that counts, and now his damage control is down. Yep, there it is. Feed him some others if I can. Hopefully get another fire on him. That'd be really nice. And you can see the Amagi slowing down because he expects his Fletcher to be right around the corner ready to ambush us. Unlucky for me, no fires. Throw a few blind over the island, but I think I aimed those a little low and those will not intercept the Izumo's path. So now we're trying to figure out where this Fletcher is. And he just popped up. And that is not a good spot for that poor little Fletcher. He's within range of the secondaries of the Amagi. He's got the rest of the team from D shooting at him. I'm shooting at him with these big high explosive guns, so the Russians, which are really good at killing destroyers. And he is not going to live long. There's another huge hit of his health. I took off about 2.5 thousand. And he's on fire. And he put that out, but he doesn't have long for this world, as I think one of our destroyers or maybe a cruiser finished him off. Yeah, probably a cruiser. I don't think there's a destroyer over there. And there's his torpedoes, completely missed. Really good for this Amagi. But now we gotta face off with an Izumo. And he's gonna let me sneak by him. I'm kinda slowing down because I don't want to be the main focus of this Izumo. But if you look when I zoom in, his guns aren't even pointed at me. He's engaging the fleet that's come from D, because I think there are a few broadside ships over there for him to shoot at. But that will not bode well for him, as I just blatantly charge him, check my torpedo angles. I will probably have to get right up next to him, which I don't really want to do, but I'll take the hit just for the fun of it. But he's taking a really big beating now, because he is basically broadside onto all our all my friendly ships, and we have him burning in so many locations. And there's another Tirpitz. I'm feeding him my rear guns as I charge with my front guns. I don't want to turn broadside and attract the Izumo's attention, and give him one more high explosive, which does not connect before my team kills him. Tirpitz in B. Can I get him? Some decent hits. Resetting the cap. I'm trying to get him before he caps, just so we don't have to completely, or so that they don't have a points income basically. They have a slight lead on us right now, but if I do kill this Terp, that'll put us pretty far ahead in points, especially since we have more caps than them at the moment. Somebody got a good fire on him. I'm sitting bow on. He is engaging me with his rear guns, which will pen me probably for about the same amount that he just did. And he will not be living through that. But the rest of the enemy team has pushed around A, and they are all back right in our spawn. Which, there's a Yamato, yeah, there it is, over there. Which is pointing its guns right at me, which quite honestly scared the living shit out of me, which I'm trying to turn out because I am broadside to that salvo. Come on. I got pretty lucky there. A lot of that was blocked by the island, and the one that hit me skipped over my deck and only did overpen damage. So I got really, really lucky. Now I'm just trying to launch salvos downrange and get that Yamato on fire, because he only has a 10-second damage control party, and once that's down, he'll burn good. That's one thing that Yamatos do really well, is burn. And I did get a fire on him, so he should be able to be lit on fire again. And there's one. We'll see if his damage control party was still up, or nope, it looks like he is burning. So that'll do some decent damage to him. And in case anybody was wondering, this was pre 5.8 patch, so I do not have the in-game damage counter or any of the new fancy features that they added. I do like that in-game damage counter though. It is really nice to just keep track of how much damage you're doing, because it'll tell you if you have a fire on an enemy ship or not, or if they put it out when you can't see them. I'm a little bit scared of that Hindenburg though, and this is where you'll see me use high explosive where I really should be using armor piercing. Hindenburgs are known to shoot only armor piercing, and I just did 5k to him with high explosive, which is really good. But I'm a ship that doesn't really like armor piercing. That Yamato's getting fucking shredded. Just to throw that out there. I'm getting distracted now. But there's a fire on him. Now I know his damage control party's down, so I'm trying to set him on fire again before I switch to the armor piercing. But I'm starting to get to where the Russian shell velocity is just hitting his belt armor, and you're gonna see it when I start looking at these shells as they go in. When I zoom in, they're just hitting his belt and doing no damage. And I'm gonna do that I think one more time before I actually switch over, and there's the switch, and that's not gonna do anything either because it's just gonna go into his belt. Hindenburg has decent enough belt armor to where high explosive isn't gonna penetrate it or do anything. But somebody did light him on fire, so I'll start launching high explosive, or not high explosive, armor piercing at him. And look at the damage I could have been racking up if I had loaded that first. That was 11,000 damage with 2 citadels. There's another 5,000. And there's another 3,000 right before he gets out of my range. So that Hindenburg probably would have died if I had started off with the armor piercing because he was broadside. Oh well. I did think that I was going to be able to light him on fire, but I guess now that the whole enemy team's broadside in front of me, I'll just make use of the armor piercing that I have loaded, unload some into the North Carolina side, and punish the Ibuki for going broadside with a 5,000 damage roll. And basically now, we don't even care about the cap, we're just cleaning up the enemy team. Their Yamato's down, we still have ours, he's right there. I don't think he took much for damage, but he definitely put out some pain. There's another 5,000 damage hit into the Ibuki. And the Amagi's broadside to me, so basically I'm shooting at him now. And I really should have paid attention to how good the armor piercing is on these, because just the angle that it goes in when you get to these ranges when they're broadside, it really just destroys stuff. And I know under 10 kilometers any armor piercing is going to do work, but out to 15 you'll see a lot of American armor piercing with their cruisers kind of slack off because of the range and the angle it's coming in. But Russian armor piercing just it just decimates stuff when I really should be using it instead of the high explosive spam that everybody uses these cruisers for. And I am kill hunting, so I really want to kill that Ibuki, but this Yamato is going to slide a shot right over this island as all of my shots fail the Citadel on this one. I get some decent hits. Well, not really, I get 2 decent hits, 2 little overpens. and the Yamato just absolutely slays it. And now it's just down to chasing that Amagi around. And there's one thing I want to mention. That Fuso is still alive. You can see him way up in the corner. He's been playing Ring Around the Rosie with a freaking Benson the whole game around that island up there. The Benson's just been chasing him around in circles. And the Fuso's lived through it, which I think is completely surprising as I find a Yamato with my bow. And the Fuso's gonna win. I mean, I don't know what this Benson's doing. Look at the hit he just took. The Fuso's gonna win. Which is completely surprising to me. And props to him for being a tier 6 in a tier 10 match. And I mean, yeah, he basically sat in a corner the whole game and got chased around by a destroyer, but he didn't, suicide. He killed the fucking destroyer, as you can see by the kill feed. The Amagi lived on to fight another day. He probably wouldn't have, because that Gearing was going to torpedo rush him. But props to that Fuso for freaking just trashing that destroyer. And the Amagi, our Amagi, even though it sunk, did really well leading the charge with me. Or I shouldn't say with me, he did a lot of the tanking. He did really well leading the charge and basically breaking open the enemy lines in order to get the cruisers and the rest of the other battleships on my team up to where we could start dealing massive damage to the enemy's backsides, flanks, and everything. And he basically positioned us to win. So really good job to him. And I was amazed at how well this team worked together. I mean, I only did like 91,000. I'm not entirely sure. We'll know once we get to the after battle screens. But I just really liked how this team worked together. We picked a spot where we wanted to push through. And then I even learned to start changing my ammunition rather than use these things as high explosive spammers all the time. So with that, let's go see how I did. Going into the first end screen shows that I actually did 99,000 damage, so 8,000 more than I thought. That was 173 hits. A lot of that was high explosive, so some of that didn't do as much damage as I'd hope. One incapacitation, which was on the destroyer early on. Only one ship destroyed. I find I don't get a lot of kills with this ship. I'm not entirely sure why, but it's not a very high kill ratio for me. 8 fires because I was using it as a flamethrower. 4 citadels. That probably would have been better if I actually learned how to use armor piercing in this match. 3 cap defenses from resetting the turrets, and 2 assisted base captures when the turrets led me into the cap circle. So thank you to him for pushing with me and letting me do all this damage. And just, helping us win, because he really broke open the front lines, and I cannot give him enough props for just going and doing what a battleship does. So, really good job to my team there, and they really enabled me to show off the ship a little bit, even though it's not completely upgraded yet in this battle. I wanted to pop up the team list too, because somehow I ended up on top. I only assisted in capturing both those bases, even though the Magi probably did get reset when he was actually capturing it, so maybe it didn't credit him with as much. But somehow I got top with only 90,000 damage, followed really closely by the Yamato and the turrets. The Amagi came in 4th, which I did compliment him after this match because he did a lot of tanking, and he really deserved a big pat on the back for just pulling his own weight. Something else I thought was kind of funny, the Fuso actually beat out in Iowa and in North Carolina for base experience. So, I don't know. I just don't know. For some reason, a lot of Iowas in I don't know, it's just American BBs. I don't trust them half the time. Some of them will be amazing, and the other half of the time it's like a chicken is at the wheel. Just it has a piece of corn tied in front of it, and as the ship goes in the waves, the chicken just kind of goes along the wheel and picks a way to go. I don't know. It's weird. And also, I wanted to give a big shout out to the enemy turrets who almost got a Kraken. and he was the only one on his team to get above 1,000 base experience. So good job to him for trying to carry that, because, you know, he tried. And finally, the last screen I wanted to show was the damage caused, the very detailed report. I just wanted to show the split between high explosive and armor piercing. Yeah, I did 17,000 in fires. That's not a lot for this ship, but I did more armor piercing damage in that short time that I had the shells loaded than I did with high explosive the whole round. I shot 132 high explosive rounds that actually hit for 35,000 damage. I shot 45 armor piercing for 45,000 damage. So, the one thing I want to say after this match, and something I learned to definitely pay attention to rather than be a stupid high explosive spammer, pick your ammunition wisely. It will save your game sometimes, whether it is dealing more damage and making the enemy team lose ships faster, or out trading an opponent to make your ship win. It will save your game. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you have a great day, and I'm gonna try to start uploading these faster. I kind of took a break because my internet was being wonky, so I'm gonna try to get more of these out on a weekly basis like I've been doing before. But like I said before, thank you for watching, have a great day, and see you on the seas.